This news program is proudly brought to you by Paradise Foods, celebrating 90 years in PNG.
PNG and Australia signed bilateral security agreement. Independent Commission Against Corruption set to kick off operation. And first grade 8 students graduated Tuu Village after 27 years. A very good evening. This is Thursday's news. I'm Godwin Eki. Thank you for joining us. Papua New Guinea and Australia have successfully signed the bilateral security agreement today in Australia. The agreement is a legally binding framework to deepen our security cooperation in traditional areas of defense, policing, border and maritime security, and also non-traditional areas of cybersecurity, climate change, gender-based violence, and critical infrastructure.
The bilateral security agreement will elevate our security relationship to advance shared security interests while contributing to our region's security. The agreement fulfills a commitment under our comprehensive strategic and economic partnership. Consistent with our shared commitment to transparency, the agreement will be publicly available. During the signing, Australia made a commitment of $200 million in support of Papua New Guinea's national security priorities. Australia agreed to support Papua New Guinea's internal security, from police to courts to correctional services. This includes initiatives that reflect the bilateral agreement's focus on climate change, gender-based violence, and cyber. Papua New Guinea will establish a Port Moresby-based police recruit and investigations training center with Australia's support. The center will enable PNG to recruit and train a larger and more capable force. Papua New Guinea has offered to open the training center to other Pacific police forces. Papua New Guinea and Australia will continue to support the development of regional policing in the Pacific through the Pacific Islands Chief of Police as our region's policing institution. Both countries pledged to continue to support economic security, including support for trade, border security, and increased engagement in the Pacific Australia Labour Mobility Scheme. Louis Maingu, National Emtv News.
Minister for Lands, Physical Planning and Urbanisation and Deputy Prime Minister John Rosso announced trial of new digital self-service kiosk that is a pivotal component of the Lands Department, marking the advancement in land management services across the country. These kiosks are scheduled for trial early next year.
Big plus something.
Minister Rosso said, in alignment with the Lands Department's commitment to accessible land services, the entire kiosk offers a practical option for citizens who prefer in-person interaction over online transactions. These kiosks are financially inclusive and accept all locally issued bank cards. He said this initiative bridges the gap in digital literacy, allowing every citizen, regardless of their comfort with technology, to easily engage with e-land services.
We collected about 9 million kina per annum, and as of this year, we've collected about 40 million kina per annum. So we've improved our collection efficiency threefold, fourfold, and by next year, we hope to set a target of about 100 million kina to improve our collection. It's not about increasing the rates, it's all about efficiency and a good point for people to go and make it easily accessible for people to utilize and use, for ordinary people on the street and for same thing with big corporates and everyone.
He said there is a comprehensive plan to expand this initiative regionally. James Guken, National Emtv News.
Teacher Savings and Loan Society, or Tisa, today formally commissioned its new data center at the Tisa House in Waigani, Port Moresby. The new data center is a world-class Tier 2 facility which will provide resilient, robust and efficient hosting and processing of data and critical systems of the organization.
A data center is a facility that organizations use to house their critical applications and data. Tisa Group CEO Michael Quaison says the new data center will ensure Tisa members and customers' information are stored safely and securely and guarantees its members consistent access to services without disruptions.
It took us almost 12 months to build this data center. Most of the equipment had to be brought in from overseas, and experts who built data centers built this for us. So it's a significant achievement. It'll ensure that Tisa's core IT systems are managed in a controlled, safe, and standardized environment, leading to a smooth operation for all our banking services without interruption.
The facility is the first and only fire-rated or fireproof glass panel data center in PNG. It also comes with a world-class backup power and cooling system, fire suppression and environment-sensitive alarm system. This is to ensure that factors such as blackouts, which are common in the country, and accidents such as fire do not affect the user experience of Tisa's customers.
So it's a milestone not only for Tisa, but also for the financial sector in Papua New Guinea and the country as well in terms of technological development. This is a pretty solid world-class data system that we've built.
The installation of the new data center also serves as a positive step forward for Tisa as it plans to transition into a commercial bank in the near future. Edson Kuso, National Emtv News.
The Minister for Petroleum and Energy, Karenga Kua, announced that he had signed the ministerial determination on the landowner beneficiaries of the Gulf and Central Province and have been gazetted yesterday, the 6th of December. This completes the first phase of the Papua LNG project. He made this announcement today in Port Moresby.
Kua stated that the gazettal of the ministerial determination of landowner beneficiaries concludes the issue on who the landowners are as far as the law and government are concerned. The minister elaborated that the landowners have been identified in clans, which 138 are from the Gulf province and 86 are from the Central province. He highlighted that an important milestone of the process is the detailed study and identification of the local people.
The identification of the landowners in the impacted areas is a very, very important statutory process. And this process by law has commenced many years ago with the holders of that licensed PRL area. The previous owners had done their own landowner identification studies.
Kua said the final study and the identification of local people have been professionally conducted by the Total Energies and verified by its department and is now in exceptional form for execution. The minister added that landowners who have disagreements with the gazettals must file their proceedings in the National Court for judicial review within 28 days.
In the event that there's a few people that feel disenfranchised, they feel aggrieved that the decision did not include them or has excluded them, and they feel that they want to take this issue up, of course, the law does allow for a ministerial determination to be challenged through the proper channels, which is the courts.
Malinta Yopolo, National Emtv News.
Tuu Village in Kairuku district saw its first ever grade 8 students graduate after the village was left without a school for 27 years. Yesterday, the village witnessed the pioneer grade 8 students graduate since the school's establishment in 2013. The occasion was special to community because the village was left out without a school since the 1980s.
For the people of Tuu Village, the small ceremony marks an historic event for them as they witness their own children graduate for the first time after almost 3 decades in a school they call their own. Founder of the school and National Court Judge Justice Stephen Kasman flew in from East New Britain to witness the graduation ceremony. One of the founders and pioneer teacher, headmistress of Tubu Elementary School, Annalisa Taule, expressed pride in witnessing her first students graduate in the pioneer batch. Amongst those who graduated was her daughter.
But then I'm very happy because it's a remarkable year for me in this community. as the fact, this community, there is no one who has been educated. And so many challenges from the neighboring communities. Through the experience of teaching, I have gone through and the ice break through leading the children to read Bibles in the communities that I have been attending to. And that has brought us to this graduation, which I really wanted everyone to come and see.
Justice Kasman, whose mother is from Tuu Village, was instrumental in setting up the school with the help of Chaya Disability Services and the former Central Province Governor, Kila Hawada. Justice Kasman encouraged these people of Tubu to continue to support their children in their education and challenge the students to be good ambassadors of Tubu.
So that's my message to the parents. We must support the students, move forward. They are now our ambassadors from Tubu. So I don't mean to put pressure on the students, but you are our ambassador. When you go out from Tubu now, you go to Mainohana or wherever you go, you are our ambassador.
The school enrolled a total of 104 students this year, 9 students of which are the pioneer grade 8s. From the 9 grade 8s, 8 have been selected to continue into high school, while 1 will attend through flexible and open distance learning or FODE. Edson Kuso, National, MTV News.
In the interest of supporting essential services and creating conducive spaces for persons living with disability in communities, yesterday representatives from the Chaya Disability Services Inc. visited Tubu Primary School, a school CDSI has helped to establish in the Kariku district of Central Province.
Building infrastructure such as schools and hospitals that is accessible for persons living with disabilities is something organizations like CDSI proudly support. CDSI was instrumental in founding the Tubu Primary School in Tuu Village in Kariku district of Central Province, a village that was without a school since the last school closed in the 1980s.
Chaya has been continually supporting the school since its inception in 2013 with supplies and school materials, stationaries, and even desks and chairs until just today when we presented to them the laptop for their admin and office use.
Mr. Sarwon, who works as a program support officer for CDSI, has been working closely with the school since its inception in 2013. Sarwon was accompanied by other officers from CDSI to Tubu Village yesterday to witness the pioneer grade 8 students of Tubu Primary School graduate. He said CDSI would continue to support the school to be an inclusive school as it develops.
Definitely, Chaya will be going into dialogue with the Central Province Division of Education, Division of Health, Division of Community Development, and the Central Provincial Government to turn the school into an inclusive school, meaning the school will be enrolling students or children both with and without disabilities.
The school currently has only 2 classrooms that serve grades 2, 4, 6 and 8. According to the school's head teacher, the school still needs a staff room and a library. Edson Kuso, National, MTV News.
National MTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National MTV News. As the Independent Commission Against Corruption is set to kick off operation in 2024, they waste no time wanting the public not to take them lightly with their core functions and responsibilities centered around investigating corrupt acts and presenting useful recommendations to the right organizations for further measures to be taken. ICAC is prepared to help PNG become a lesser corrupt nation.
Being just 5 months old in PNG, ICAC is already receiving complaints and requests for investigations to be carried out in several public service organizations. So far, 70 complaints have reached ICAC, by which a good number of these complaints were made before June this year.
This year we've received about 70 complaints. A number of those were before the 1st of July. And until the commissioners were appointed, the significance of that is this, that until the commissioners were appointed, the main role of ICAC or the interim office was to hand that on to other agencies.
ICAC's Deputy Commissioner, Daniel Balch, issued a warning to the public and the public sector to be aware of its investigations kicking off.
What I also will say is we don't want to telegraph our punches, but it's also important to note that those that are out there who do participate in corrupt conduct or are participating in corrupt conduct at the moment need to be wary. The time will very quickly come when they shouldn't be sleeping soundly of a night time, because at any point in time it could be that the ICAC is investigating them. When there's a need and a purpose and a reason why we'll talk to an investigation, we aim to be transparent, we aim to come forward and talk with yourselves as the media, and more importantly the people, so they do know what we're going on.
The high demand to address corruption in PNG has pushed ICAC to start its operations as soon as possible. Francisca Anania, National Emtv News.
United Nations Development Fund developed a suitable climate and disaster risk insurance cover to help PNG and other Pacific islands struggling with climate change and disaster funding issues. The new insurance cover is designed to meet specific needs of banks, provident funds, and agriculture business, among others.
Several studies indicate PNG's vast lack of financial support in terms of insurance covers, supply and demand challenges, and climate and disaster risk financing.
Is that it is the right product for a context like PNG. It's much more flexible, faster, agile, and targeted for vulnerable populations than indemnity insurance products. It really is a product which is well developed for, tailored for a developing country context, especially a climate vulnerable context and a hazard vulnerable context like PNG. And it's proved its worth in these other markets, and PNG will definitely benefit from it.
The parametric insurance cover, focusing on climate and disaster-related instances, provide helpful benefits and support to businesses, startups, and locals affected by natural causes.
We have the mandate to provide capital in the form of grants, loans, and guarantees to support development where the needs are greatest. And for us, through our program, we are looking at climate resilience and disasters.
The insurance cover is now being trialled in East Sepik province and will most likely reach other provinces due to positive reports on its progress and awareness. Francisca Anania, National Emtv News.
In a momentous declaration at the COP28 Global Climate Action Summit recently, Papua New Guinea outlined an ambitious commitment to safeguard 30% of its land and sea areas while halting deforestation by 2030.
During the COP28 Global Climate Action Summit, the European Union and France unveiled a comprehensive country package designed for forests, nature and climate for PNG. This strategic alliance comprises a suite of programs, partnerships and investments dedicated to the preservation of nature, forests and the mitigation of climate impact. During the Global Environment Facility Project Number 7 Inception Workshop held in Western Highlands and Eastern Highlands Province last week, the Food and Agriculture Organization Head of Office in PNG, Bir Mandal, declared that the GEV7 project is one of the first projects to be implemented as the country package.
FAO proudly participate in the country package to support Papua New Guinea in tackling environmental issues.
The GEV7 project protects and conserves identified conservation sites in Western and Eastern Highlands Province. The Conservation Environment Protection Authority is in charge of this project with technical support from Food and Agriculture Organization. Louis Maingu, National Emtv News.
The Sunnyside Christian School celebrated its inaugural graduation ceremony on Tuesday at the Port Moresby Nature Park for its Grade 2 students. The event was witnessed by invited guests from various government departments, parents, friends, and the students. The Sunnyside Christian School celebrated the graduation of its first pioneer students, the class of 2023 Grade 2 graduating students. This graduation ceremony was graced by important guests from various government and private sector heads and parents and families of the students. Students were also able to recite their Bible verses and show their parents what they have been taught at school. Director of the school was also happy to host the school's first graduation.
Sunnyside opened its doors for its first early childhood learners in 2021. Few months into operation, COVID-19 pandemic hit the entire world and PNG was declared the state of emergency. Started with 50 students in 2021, only 50 students in 2021. And today, we have doubled the number of students. We have 6 full-time teachers and qualified LEM phonics instructor. Her name is Mrs. Alberta Kakori.
Director of the school, Frank Goy, said the graduation of Grade 2 students will remain and continue their Grade 3 with Sunnyside Christian School with plans to expand and grow.
Next year, we will have our first Grade 3 intake. And I just would like to inform the parents. Most of the parents have asked me, the Grade 2s, they are graduating now and they're going to go to Grade 3 in other school. And I said no. The pioneer students, we are graduating them today, but they will continue the next year in Sunnyside. Don't take it anywhere else.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2685 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, Yokina was buying $0.2610 US, $0.3957 Australian dollars, €0.2349 euro, 38.08 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York closed, gold is trading lower, coffee closed lower, cocoa closed lower, copra closed higher, palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading lower, and copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading lower. National Emtv News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National Emtv News. The AOG Jubilee Institute of Higher Education had their 10th graduation in Port Moresby. A total of 43 students graduated with diploma in primary teaching, 7 with bachelors in accounting, and 6 with diploma in business studies.
The director of the school, Dr. Benjamin Hansen, when addressing the graduates, said that this is a momentous time of their life and for some of the graduates, the first chapter of their life into the working field. Keynote speaker representing the Teachers Service Commission, Paul Lapun, said in his opening speech that teachers built this nation and called on the students to be appreciative of their teachers as well as their mothers. He challenged the graduates to shine when they go to their different workplaces, especially in their teaching professions. He called on the graduates to be role models and to inspire the next generation. Emmanuel James thanked God for the success and also his family for helping him get this far.
Thank you, long orkada something and man helping me go through coming up now. Sabla struggle na. Come through, but thank you long big man and look at me and helping me come finish the same long time. So thank you through long big man long time long keep long life time. If I'm giving more time, but me continue long. I'm making this professional work long teacher. No something work long capman.
James said despite circumstances he faced during his educational journey, he had the determination to one day graduate in a college and be a teacher.
Secondly, me to thank you long all hardworking parents for me, especially all brothers for me, all parents, all supporting me along bus fare, school fee. Even though sometimes, they have I come to such situations like bus fare and all this and I'm also providing school fee and school work too. Assignment, all this is something I'm costly, but thank you through long all brothers.
The program ended with Teaching Service Commission representative Paul Lapun admitting the graduates to the teaching service. Tamara Agavi, National Emtv News.
To empower the next generation with tax knowledge, the IRC WIWEC team recently conducted a general tax awareness session at the Passam School of Excellence in East Sepik Province, enlightening students about PNG's tax system and its due dates, reinforcing the importance of contributing to our nation. To support ongoing learning, the team presented a printed tax information kit to the Passam School of Excellence Library. Moving to overseas news, several major humanitarian groups say they can no longer operate in Gaza as the war between Israel and Hamas intensifies.
Groups like the World Health Organization are saying that we can no longer function properly. They're saying that the Israeli Defense Forces ordered them to empty their warehouses of supplies and to move somewhere else. The WHO is saying it's just not practical in a war zone to be taking everything from various warehouses and moving it to where. Other groups like the Norwegian Refugee Council are saying that Gaza's being pulverised and that they can no longer do their work. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which is the major humanitarian group inside Gaza, they have lost as many as 130 people of their own workers and staff have been killed in this war, which began two months ago tomorrow, actually, October 7. And so UNRWA is saying we just can't do our job. We fear for disease growing, the number of children, orphan children who are walking around with no one to care for them. The water is contaminated. There's not much fresh water or food coming in. The hospitals aren't functioning. And so all of these major groups are saying now that this is on the brink of, a worse catastrophe than we can even imagine. There is a major row going on at the moment between the Israelis and the United Nations. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has lambasted the UN and said, you have shown virtually no interest in this. You've been silent. Why haven't you spoken up for the women who he says were sexually assaulted before they were killed by Hamas? Hamas is denying that. The UN has set up a committee. The Israelis say too little, too late. The head of that committee, the chair of the UN Commission of Inquiry, Navi Pillay, is saying to Israel, give us whatever evidence you have of these sexual assaults and I will pass them on to the International Criminal Court. But Israel is saying we don't trust the UN. They are biased. They've always been biased against Israel, so we are not cooperating with them. So unfortunately, like so many things here, a tragedy is caught in the middle of this dreadful political row.
Israeli warplanes have carried out more heavy bombardment across Gaza as fighting on the ground continues and more casualties are being reported daily.
More Palestinian civilians fled south towards the Egyptian border after Israel declared a brief pause in combat operations. Almost 2 million Gazans have fled their homes. Israel says it is killing fewer civilians, as the US has requested. The United Nations says nowhere in this tiny territory is safe. Hamadan al-Turabin offers people lifts. He said he's seen casualties in the streets with legs or heads blown off and no one can reach them. The stream of misery entering the hospital in Khan Yunis does not stop, and neither is growing condemnation from international relief agencies of the pain and death Israel is inflicting on Gaza civilians. It's one of the worst assaults on any civilian population in our time and age, according to the Norwegian Refugee Council. As Israel's forces push south, their leaders reject that outright. The damage and death, they say, is the fault of Hamas for starting this war. Israel has given out video of captured weapons it says were found near schools and clinics. More proof, the army insists, that Hamas uses civilians as human shields. In Jerusalem, Lynn Hastings, a senior UN official, said Hamas attacks on Israel were horrific and atrocious. But now Israel has obligations.
There are allegations, that the UN isn't doing enough, but it's up to the government of Israel to let us do enough. And right now the conditions inside of Gaza are not permitting us to do our job and to deliver humanitarian assistance.
Should the Israelis examine their conscience?
I think we should all be examining our conscience in terms of what's going on in Gaza, and you will have heard many people say, have we actually lost our humanity in this crisis?
Do you think we have?
I think some of us have, maybe, yeah. I think not. I think the world is not doing enough to end this.
Israel could end it tomorrow.
They could indeed.
And in Gaza, another dead child gets a last kiss. The BBC freelance who filmed this mass funeral reported it followed an Israeli strike on Deir al-Balach that killed 47, including 15 children. 9 people are still under the rubble. Israel says only force will destroy Hamas and save its hostages. But the Americans have warned Israel that fighting the war this way, killing so many civilians, risks driving Palestinians into the arms of Hamas. And for Israel, that would be a strategic defeat.
National MTV News continues after a break with Tuu Sports. Stay with us.
Tuu Sports.
Welcome to Tuu Sports. Following the announcement of the PNG Games set to take place on the 10th to the 20th of January next year, the chairman for the PNG Games Council, Albert Veratau, stressed that they need to not defer the PNG Games as it plays an important function in the global sports calendar.
Mr. Veratau elaborated on an important contribution of the PNG Games to Team PNG for the international sporting stage.
Said 30 or 40% of the athletes come out of the PNG Games to feed into the elite Team PNG program. So that is quite a large number of athletes. Yeah? If you're looking at 100, that's about 30 or 40 athletes that comes out of the PNG Games.
He discouraged the notion of deferring the national games as seen recently and reasoned a way forward as improvement. Mr. Veratau noted that the PNG Games' main concerns were either resources or facilities to accommodate the participating populace. Noting that the Games is strictly carried out with compliance to the PNG Games Charter, the chairman said a compromise may be reached to cut the cost inconveniences for the Games going forward.
So I think we need to scale back on where we want to peg PNG Games and the level of facilities that we need to a point where why don't we either play the PNG Games in places or towns where there are facilities, or why don't we just improve some of the school facilities?
With around 6,000 plus athletes expected to participate in 11 different sporting codes, the PNG Games Council is confident the national games will push through as planned, noting that the venue facilities for the games are ready in Port Moresby and acknowledge that most of the participating provinces have reached out to schools in the nation's capital to accommodate their teams. The council thanks the various establishments within NCD that had agreed to support the PNG Games by assisting the provincial teams. Natasha Voigt, Tuu Sports.
The famous Eastern Papua Cup will host its semi-finals and grand finals this weekend at the Bissini Oval in Port Moresby. This announcement was made by the EPC General Secretary George Bukoya in an interview with Emtv today.
This is the fourth weekend for the Games. According to Mr. Bukoya, the change of venue is mainly to enable the tournament director and general secretary to have upper hand on security issues and crowd control. He made mention that EPC is a social and family affair, and it is their duty to ensure everyone enjoys themselves in a safe and harmonious environment. For this weekend's game, there will be 8 teams, each in both the men's and women's competition. The quarterfinals should prove to be exciting, with teams putting in their best to stay the rest. He concluded that the semi-finals and the grand finals will be played on Sunday, followed by the presentation of awards. Gladys Skilla, Tuu Sports.
The Once Upon a Time BNS Rugby League in the Wagi Valley of Jiwaka Province in Papua New Guinea is on the revival pathway rather. It's been years since the last time a team representing BNS Rugby League took center stage in sanctioned PNG Rugby League games.
Taking charge to carry the legacy of his late father, Joseph Comney, Stephen Clay expressed that the return of the BNS Rugby League is utilized as an intercessor for peace from social disorders involving youths. Clay said building on the revival of the BNS League through the inception of the Comney Off-Season Cup earlier in October, the local league has been invited to participate in the week-long inaugural Morobe Kande Nines in Lae, currently underway. Clay said it's an honor to once again bring the BNS boys out of their seclusion and enjoy rugby with the rest of the country. Clay further added that in the long run, they want to get back into the PNG Rugby Football League and be recognized as an affiliate. However, he adds that the key factors aligning to the PNG Rugby Football League must be established, and it begins now. The BNS League makes its return to the out-of-province tournaments, participating in the inaugural Kande Nines tournament underway in Lae Morobe Province. Natasha Voy, Tuu Sports.
In the interest of combating gender-based violence by educating the young and reforming the old through sports, Dr. Denny O'Brien from Bond University, Gold Coast, Australia, will be visiting Port Moresby and Vanimo in West Sepik Province to talk about an initiative conceived by the founder and president of the Surfing Association of PNG Inc., Andrew Abel. The initiative, called the Pink Nose Revolution, is an outcome-based policy that stemmed from the PNG surfing documentary Splinters and has been implemented in the Surfing Association of Papua New Guinea's 11 board riders clubs throughout the country. Its aim is to raise awareness about the scourge of gender-based violence. And Tuu Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Tuu Sports.
You're watching Tuu Sports. In overseas sports, in cricket, Pakistan will go into day 2 of the PM's 11th match games against Australia at the Manuka Oval in Canberra.
Masood hit his 25th first-class century in 168 balls. He hit 13 fours and 1 6 to end day 1 on 156 not out. South Australian quick Jordan Buckingham, who was a late inclusion to the side, he took 3 wickets on day 1. Bangladeshi batsman Mushfiqur Rahim suffered a rare type of dismissal in the second test against New Zealand. The batsman was given out for handling the ball. He's just the first Bangladesh to lose his wicket under the rule, though it's happened in world cricket before. Australian fans might recall Steve Waugh's dismissal against India in the early 2000s.
That ends Tuu Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Tuu Sports. Tuu Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Southern region, Port Moresby mostly fine, partly cloudy. Popondetta partly cloudy with brief showers. In the Mamase region, Ley partly cloudy with a shower or two. Banimo cloudy with few showers and possible thunderstorm. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau partly cloudy with possible shower or two. Buka cloudy with rain showers and possible thunderstorm. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen rain showers and possible thunderstorm, easing into cloudy periods, then morning fog. Mendi and Wabeg partly cloudy with few evening showers, then morning fog.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Thursday, the 7th of December 2023. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Good night.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Paradise Foods, celebrating 90 years in PNG.